Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm hoping you guys are all having a fantastic day. So we have a ton of information to cover. There could be pretty good amounts of snow headed for the Northeast, the Midwest, and it could come in 2 rounds. So there's a ton to cover. We will get right into that. Before we do, if you guys would like to support this channel, if you like these videos, consider subscribing if you haven't already. And liking the video also helps out a ton. Also, if you have any comments, concerns, questions, opinions, leave them down in the comments below. I get to almost every single comment on every single video, no matter how much. So consider doing that. Alright, let's start off by looking at the National Weather Service map. And what we see is a lot of winter weather advisories across the west, a few winter storm watches across the Sierra Nevada, the upper elevated areas, and a few winter storm warnings. Notice that there could be some heavy to potentially moderate to potentially heavy snowfall across the western United States, obviously associated with our storm system. We do also have a large area of winter weather advisories across the Midwest, the central upper Midwest, if you will, right? And this will be associated with that first wave. If you recall, I mentioned it at the beginning of the video. There will be 2 waves to the system, the first one being less significant than the first one or than the second one. But again, it's relative because the second one could be a monster. So this one could still be very, very impactful. And let's take a glance at this. So notice that this will be not today, but Saturday. So tomorrow, especially towards the latter half of the day across Minnesota and Wisconsin into North Dakota and South Dakota, really South Dakota, that will be into earlier Saturday. Let's take a look at this. While they are winter weather advisories and they aren't warnings, these snowfall amounts will be high. I'm actually a bit surprised as to why they haven't issued winter storm warnings and they decided to opt with the winter weather advisory. There definitely is a reasoning for this. Probably that the heaviest amounts maybe won't be too widespread, but based off this 4 to 7 inches, that's well over half a foot. I would not be surprised to see some amounts approaching 8 to 9 inches of snowfall. So again, a good plowable event. This will not have any trouble accumulating. This will be a dry, fluffy snow across much of southern Minnesota, and you can see even towards the north across Brainerd. I probably am mispronouncing that. Hayward, Hinkley, some snow as well, not as heavy, but a general 1 to 4 inch event as well. Northern Iowa also seeing decent amounts of snow, tapering pretty quickly as you go to the south. Notice that what they have is 3 to 4, 4 to 6 at the border. Des Moines, maybe 1 to 2 inches, and then towards the southern part of the state, less than an inch of snow. Again, the confidence in this wave is rather high. There shouldn't be any large alterations of this, right? Green Bay also under a winter weather advisory. Again, sometimes winter weather advisories are issued when there's less or more snowfall, usually when it's under 6 inches. And I'm assuming that they're expecting some locations to get over 6 inches, just probably not enough to issue winter storm warnings. Again, 2 to 4 inches, that's not a massive event, but it's significant enough to take out the snowplows and snow shovels, especially if it's, towards that 4 to 5 inch range. Further to the north, more of a light, even a lighter snow events. Right, South Dakota, I want to go over as many offices as possible, so I do apologize if I'm going quick. But notice portions of South Dakota could actually get towards, the 6-inch range as well, especially as you get towards the locations that border Minnesota and Iowa. Further to the south into Nebraska, it really quickly cuts off as this is where it will be initially developing and then trudging on to the east. Right, notice that there is a bit of an advisory here that is for some freezing drizzle. So that's not really for snow. Notice that across Nevada, we do have winter weather advisories and warnings. I do want to show the snowfall reports. Forecast snow. Notice, obviously, the Austin, higher elevated areas, I'm assuming, based on the orientation of that snow. It's potentially up to a foot. Anywhere else, lighter amounts, though still a general 1 to 4 inch event. Into Utah, Salt Lake City, I'm sure is under, especially as you get just to the east of Salt Lake. Some heavier amounts of snow. Notice 1 to 2 for Salt Lake, just in the mountains, higher elevated areas, easily over a foot of snow. Sierra Nevada, look at that. We have California, winter storm watches. 6 to 12 inches, higher elevated areas, potentially over a foot, if not more. Not a massive event, but a decent one. Let's go to the GFS model. Again, if I were to say one model that has a good handle on this, one family of models, it's the European, not the GFS. The GFS actually have been disappointingly inaccurate. If you recall, I've been saying this for a few days now that the European models look to be most accurate, right? And if you were to see the trends over the last couple of days, the Canadian, the GFS, and there's one other family. GFS, Canadian, the high res weren't really too far out still to do anything, but the GFS and the Canadian were all kind of trending to what the European ensembles were showing, which was a more northern scenario, right? So this is the GFS. Notice we have this system. It already made a landfall onto the western coast of the United States. Notice snow is already falling across Utah, Nevada. It will continue to crank up. Notice by tonight at midnight it is going hard across the west. That is good news. Whatever precip they can get, it is a drought over there. Notice Utah filling in with snow, probably peaking at around the early morning hours of Saturday for you. This is 6 a.m. Central Standard Time, but for Mountain Time and Pacific Time, it's closer to 4, if not 5 o'clock. Right, notice as we push this forward, what we see is a band of light to moderate snow. This shouldn't be overly heavy, but the snowfall ratios will be relatively high. 15 to 20 inches of snow per 1 inch of rain. So this will be fluffy, dry snow. Again, plowable snow. For those snowplow drivers across Minnesota, they will definitely have a bit of plowing to do. While it shouldn't be a massive event, you'll be able to keep up with this, and it should be more of a pleasant event, if you will. I don't know how to word it, to be honest with you. It shouldn't be anything too significant. Notice that South Dakota, Nebraska, Iowa, Minnesota filling in with that snow as early as Sunday. Saturday, I would say 12 p.m., getting into Minnesota. Again, this may be a bit undershowing or overshowing for certain locations. Keep an eye on the radar, and at the National Weather Service offices, let them keep you updated, as that's the best source. Notice into Saturday evening, early Sunday, it's spreading across Iowa, Wisconsin, Minnesota, into northern Illinois. They should pick up around 1 to 2 inches across northern Illinois, maybe some pockets of 3 as you get towards Wisconsin. Southeast Wisconsin, I would say 1 to 3 towards Milwaukee and away from the shore of Lake Michigan, maybe 2 to 4. And I say away from the shore as not because it's going to be introducing rain, but because this wave, look what it does. It just dissipates pretty quickly, and Michigan shouldn't even pick up much out of this, maybe an inch or two, tops. Obviously, closer to the lake in terms of Michigan will be higher amounts. In terms of Wisconsin, further away will be higher amounts, right? So notice that what we see here is this system, tracking across the south into Mexico. It gets out into the plains, into Texas. Look at all this precipitation it pulls up. This is a classic storm. There's nothing really too unique about this. The track that it's going to take is a known heavy snow producer, for about 100 to 200 miles to the north and west of that low. Notice that this thing has a ton of precip. I mean, very heavy rain. Probably severe weather as well will be a potential. I will not cover it in specific detail in this video. I will just say that the threat is there. So go to your SPC, Storm Prediction Center, refer to your NWS, National Weather Service authorities for the best info. Notice this thing is moisture laden. The GFS shows this system taking a track similar to what the European is showing, but it took it all the way, it took it several days to show what the European was showing several days ago. And notice, look at that: Kansas, Nebraska, Iowa, Missouri, Illinois, Michigan, Indiana, northern Indiana. You can see the GFS takes us pretty far to the north with that red snow line. Very, very heavy snow. This would be, possibly well over a foot across certain locations. Again, depending on the track. At this point, I would say, for the folks that are wondering, anywhere in this area, I would say that, anywhere in this area, there's going to be snow, most likely. The higher amounts could be, somewhere here, or they could even line up further to the north, right? The heaviest band, so that would mean snow all the way up here. But it could also take a more southern track. And this deviance, this kind of going back and forth will occur for the next, I would say, 24 hours, pretty much 24 hours until the storm system occurs is when, it will be pretty solidified. Now, it won't be a snowstorm for Indiana or southern Illinois or southern Missouri, but it still could be one for, say, central Illinois or even central Wisconsin, or just for northern Illinois, which is kind of where the majority of them show right now. So folks in Chicago, South Bend, Indiana, those locations, south central Michigan, southern Wisconsin, eastern Iowa, northern Missouri are looking for a rather significant event. Notice that this pushes well into Detroit. Cleveland getting a lot of mixing in terms of snow, ice, rain, a very close situation. Please, for details, go to your NWS, as they will provide the best details. You can see that the GFS shows a lot of ice, so that's an even bigger threat than just the snow itself. Notice into New York City, Pennsylvania, decent snow. While this looks as if this will, transition all to rain, this system does not push far to the north. It starts tracking to the east. And look at that. Pennsylvania, upstate New York are in for snowfall for some locations up to 36 hours of snow. And that affects portions of New York City and northern New Jersey. This is also kind of a mess to predict for the Northeast. The Midwest is the first area. Then the Northeast is the second area of concern, as a small track difference, a little bit of more extra cold air that goes under forecasted could mean a large difference. Say northern Delaware, northern Maryland, you will start off as snow, but most likely transition over to rain. Now, if it takes a more southern scenario, then you might end up with more snow, which is still a possibility. It's decreasing at this point, but it's still there. Notice New York City, obviously upstate New York, Pennsylvania getting a lot of snow, relatively. Again, it won't be a historic event, but still decent amounts. Notice the GFS paints this band of heavier snow right across Iowa, Missouri, Kansas, of well over a foot. This is assuming a 10-to-1 ratio, which initially it will be actually a lower than 10-to-1 ratio, but as the system pulls away, a lot of these locations will be seeing a 15-to-1 ratio of snowfall. So I would say that I think a bit higher than what the GFS is showing, if the dynamics of the system are similar to what the GFS is showing. This is just assuming a 10-to-1 ratio locked in, and that's not really that accurate. Notice Detroit, right? Michigan, seeing good amounts of snow. Northern Ohio, again, look at that, right on the border between the heavy snow and almost no snow. So that's another area of very high concern. Pennsylvania, upstate New York, southern New York into northern Virginia, western West Virginia, western Maryland, picking up potentially well over half a foot of snow as well. That's the GFS. The Canadian, very similar event for the upper Midwest, keeps actually some lighter amounts, but I would say 4 to 7 inches, with that first band across Minnesota, and anywhere else, 3 to 5 seems good. The Canadian, you can see what it does. It's different. It takes us further to the south. So what that means is potentially maybe Kansas City getting more on this. Southern Iowa, right? More of southern Iowa, less of Des Moines. Less of Chicago. Detroit, again, kind of on a border. More of northern Indiana into Cleveland. And you could see Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey, Long Island. This scenario, what we have right here, is more unlikely than what I just showed you because it's not supported too significantly. It is possible that the heaviest snow may fall somewhere along here, but there wouldn't be that sharp of a cutoff across into northern Illinois. It looks as if northern Illinois, even southern Wisconsin, are in for some snow. But again, this heavy axis of snow could still do a fair share of jumping around. And a scenario like this would be possible. But if this were to be a bit more accurate, I would say that, the snowfall amounts of at least, 3 to 5 would extend into where that red line is drawn. There will be a sharper cutoff to the south, though, as that range of snow will be occurring. Here, it's more of just a snow to, it doesn't, snow to nothing, right? That's the Canadian. Now, I would show you the GFS parallel, except it hasn't been loading in the past couple of days. There is some sort of data issue with it, so it doesn't work. The NAM. This model is a high res, right? And it takes it very far to the south. I would say don't really look at this model. It's not supported by almost not a single ensemble from the European model. And there's 50 ensembles, so this is not likely. And it has done a bit of jumping around. This was it yesterday at midnight. This was at 6 o'clock in the morning. It's used much further to the south. Today it's further to the north. And again, it will continue going to the north, kind of like the GFS has over the past couple of days. RGEM is similar to the Canadian, and that's usually the case, that the RGEM mimics the Canadian pretty well. Again, it takes pretty heavy snow further to the south. I do think that this is a possibility, but I don't think that it will go much further south than this. If, we're after the system and they're saying that, okay, scratch that. This scenario, what we have pulled up right here, is potentially the furthest south I would say the system could drop its heavy snow. There's really not a single model that shows any heavy amounts similar to what this model is showing, much further to the south than what this model is showing. Now, there also are plenty of models that show it, equally as far of a deviance from, say, northern Illinois and Iowa, where most models align. But they show it across northern Iowa and southern Wisconsin to central Wisconsin. So this is, I would say, the difference that we have around, I don't know mileage-wise how long that is. Around, say, anywhere goodness, I can't even count, 200 miles maybe, 200, 250 miles of track difference, which could mean a huge difference for, say, Green Bay or even Detroit, Chicago, Des Moines, Cleveland, New York, Philadelphia, for example, so, and DC as well. So that's still the difference. But I do want to say that, again, the European ensembles and its family have been the champions so far of this event. So it's probably reasonable I show you what it's showing. Let's go to the surface and precip just to show you what it looks like in its layout. Notice there's that band tomorrow into tomorrow night. That is rather confident. The European does not show a lot of energy with this, but that is underdone, and they have kind of already confirmed that, the National Weather Service, that a possibility that, lighter amounts may fall is obviously a scenario, right? It could be just less than what they're forecasting, which is 4 to 7 inches for Minneapolis. But, the European shows not that much forcing with this, but they do think it has a very good handle with that second wave. So notice it does disintegrate it, so that's consistent, right? Again, maybe an inch or two either way, which is why they're given ranges 6 to 7 or 8 inches. It could be on the 6 side or the 8-inch side. It could be on the 8-inch side if, for example, one of the GFS models is right, or some of the high-res are showing similar amounts to that, versus the European, which is on the lower side. Right. Notice here's a high-res look. I mean, that precipitation just explodes across the United States, the southern United States, into early Monday morning, late Sunday evening. And you can see that across the west. It would obviously be tracking a bit before into late Saturday, early Sunday, as that first wave is going on across the Midwest. Notice a lot of rain. I mean, huge chunks of rain coming up to the north. The snow is pretty strong, pretty powerful. You can see the European shows it across Kansas into northern Missouri. You can see that Omaha, Lincoln, even potentially North Platte getting it on some of that snowfall, though it doesn't look significant. Notice getting it well into Chicago, northern Indiana, northern Illinois, Iowa, eastern Iowa, Quad Cities, Des Moines, right, into Cleveland, getting as snow initially, then snow into Detroit, southern areas of Wisconsin, southern Milwaukee. And then notice this again at this point right here. I want to say that some of these snowfall ratios may be falling at a 20 to even higher ratio amount. So it will start off initially right here. That's like a lower than 10-to-1 ratio. Wet, heavy snow. By the time it's here, it will be falling lightly, but it could be a fluffy snow. So I would say that a 10-to-1 ratio may be a bit underdoing some of these amounts if you look at it from the whole perspective of this event. Notice that it does slide decent amounts into even southern New Jersey, northern Delaware. It all starts off as snow. Some areas do transition, but northern New Jersey, New York City, they stay as snow through this whole event. It doesn't make it far into, say, Connecticut, Rhode Island, or Massachusetts. But that's where it ends, right? Let's take a look at the total snowfall. You can see this is assuming a 10-to-1 ratio, so some of these may be a bit underdone, but overdone if they're, really close to the rain-snow line. Let's take a glance at this. Notice what we have. Southern Iowa, Missouri, I mean, very copious amounts of snow, well over a foot. Notice Chicago, for example, a decent event, one of the larger events we've had in a while. Detroit, definitely a decent event as well. Let me take this through this entirety of this event right there. You can see getting 5-6 inches, not a bad event. Again, this probably will change either up or down or even sideways. I'm kidding, you can't go sideways. But up or down, so, stay tuned for changes. Southern Nebraska, you can see, obviously, this could get a bit further to the north, maybe even hooking onto North Platte. At this point, North Platte, somewhere between that 2 to 4 inch range, so not horrible. And across the Northeast, Pennsylvania, New York, you can see 4 to 6 inches. This may be a bit underdone by this European model. Let's take a look at its ensembles, right? So these are 50 models I want to look at, and this is the next 5-day snowfall. So this will encompass all of the event, as the 27th of January, I think, is a Wednesday or Thursday, so that system will be gone by then. Notice, a lot of the models you can see show a relative agreement with this track. Some show it a tad further to the north, some a bit further to the south, like this one shows it actually pretty far to the south. Again, there aren't many models that show this that far to the south. In this whole ensemble family of 50, there may be up to 10, but in the grand scheme of things, that's not that much. And look at that. That one's a kind of in that same region, but it's more of a wide band of snow, not so narrow, which probably would be more realistic. Notice this one's pretty far to the south and weak, which is why I'm not really buying into this one. Neither is the National Weather Service. This is more realistic, and this is one I think a scenario that could definitely happen. And this will not affect, Detroit or Chicago with the heaviest snow. Still drop a general 4 to 6 inches. But you can see it would center it more across into Kansas City potentially, and maybe into more of central Illinois, northern central Illinois, northern Indiana. But then, there's models that show that, and there's some models that show it like this, which is at this point more of a laughing matter, something like this. That's most likely not going to happen, not supported by almost any model. A scenario like this is, I think, shown by 2 or 3 ensembles through this graph, so not that many. Notice this one shows it right through northern Illinois, southern Wisconsin. Some show it, getting pretty far into southern Wisconsin, potentially affecting Milwaukee, even, maybe Madison, Des Moines, Iowa, while others show it, again, further to the south, right? More of a southern scenario. But if you were to go through this and take that through, for every, one southern one, you have a bunch of more northern ones. And you can see this one's a northern scenario, just a bit weaker, which is possible. But, something like this where it's disorganized in only a few areas of around 6 inches is growing more and more unlikely. Look at that. That one's more across northern Illinois. This one's even, the southern locations potentially not seeing anything, while some models earlier showed, the heaviest snow across those very same locations. So a lot of differentiating still, but it's not, a difference of 1,000 miles or or even like 500 miles. It's a matter of maybe 50 to 100, and you can see that generally that's what they show. I do want to look at this cool feature, which is could provide us a good look at what all the models are showing. And for that, we go on APS, and we click on United States. So this basically compiles all the ensembles that I showed you. I didn't show you most of them because there's just so many different scenarios. And this shows you the average of what they think. So this is the 12Z model run. I'm pretty sure it is. Yes, it is. And notice that as we take this through, again, this is so bubbly and kind of faded out because this isn't one model. This is 50 models all in one graph, right? Notice what they show. The heaviest axis through southern Iowa into Kansas, northern Missouri, into Chicago, into Michigan, Indiana, right? So there's still a lot of kind of differentiating here. The cutoff will be sharper in reality because this is just a mean, but it shows you where most models agree on the heaviest snow, which puts it, into Chicago, Iowa, Missouri, northern Illinois, northern Indiana, northern Ohio, southern Michigan. Again, some of these amounts probably underdone across Michigan. And notice, look at that, an average of around 4 to 6 inches for Pennsylvania, and this is assuming a 10-to-1 ratio, which some of this will be higher, especially towards the north. And then notice, New York City, 3 to 4 inches, so not bad, not a historic event. Philadelphia, 3 to 4 inches. Again, nothing too ridiculous, but it is a, snow nonetheless. And last year, I think you saw 3/10 of an inch. You've already seen snow this year, but, this will be another not bad addition of 3 to 4 inches for Philadelphia. And it's going, increasingly likely that you will see some sort of snowfall. Let's take a look at the GFS members. As I told you, the GFS family is more all over the place. It's kind of like that dysfunctional family at this point, if you will. It's not really doing well with this event. Not doing horrible, and some of the trends it's showing, may hold true. But I wouldn't hold it as my primary ensemble to look at this point. East Coast, United States. I want to click on this, but sometimes this has troubles loading in. Give me a second here. Let's just try this again. Come on. For some reason, sometimes if it refuses to load for... There we go. All right, notice. This is zoomed out, so because I want to capture as much of one place as possible, or forgot that you got to zoom out to increase this image. It shows these icons smaller. But look, pick your location at any of these ensembles, and I'll just run it through this whole event. I want to stop it at Wednesday, because on Wednesday and Thursday there could be another event that could actually drop snow into the Carolinas, so that's something to watch for. Look at the GFS family. Hopefully you could find your location. I'll give you a while just to look at these. Notice that into Iowa, there's some amounts, model like this shows very heavy snow, and then the neighbor shows, look at that, tiny amounts, right? A weak event. And there's one that shows it further to the south, to the north, kind of more of a west-oriented system with this model, not as heavy snow into Michigan. It's definitely a bit more scattered than what the European shows. There were a few European ensembles that showed, more of a disorganized system. but there's more with the GFS. And look at the GFS. Some models show, a bigger event across the Northeast. And, for example, that may be a trend that they're onto that the European aren't onto. I would say for the Midwest area, definitely the European has a better handle. For the Northeast, I would say the similar thing. I don't think there will be, up to over 18 inches, which this model shows across most of Pennsylvania. But it could be a good mix of a weaker scenario and a stronger scenario, which could lead to around 6 to 7, 8 inches across central Pennsylvania. So still a good event. And again, for information that's detailed, go to your NWS local National Weather Service, as they provide the best info. So at this point, just keep updated with the forecast from the NWS. You could check in on this channel. I will be making more videos, right? And if you have any questions, even tomorrow or whenever, just leave a comment. Go back to the video, leave a comment. Right now, if you have a question, leave it in the comments below. I will be answering to the best of my ability. So thank you so much for watching, guys. If you're still watching, you're the best. This video was a bit all over the place, but I want to go over as many models and as many scenarios as possibilities as I can. I did go over the Midwest and Northeast a bit more than the West. I tried my best to go over the West, especially at the beginning. But again, there will be heavy snow, especially through the long range. The pattern remains active. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will catch you all on the next episode. See ya. Bye.